guys, in today's build video I'm gonna share with you my current pulse resistance DPS build. So this build uses Firewall Specialization because of the talent of this specialization, which allows the user to get 200% armor regeneration whenever you use your armor kit. So for this build, as you can see, I'm using 3 pieces yell gear so that I get the third bonus, which is the 40% pulse resistance. Combined with the specialization at max level, you get plus 50 pulse resistance from your specialization. Then as you can see, my chest piece has 10% pulse resistance mod to get 100% pulse resistance, meaning you cannot be pulsed, spotter does not work on you, flatline doesn't work on you. So with this you can counter the meta build right now, which allows your enemy, whenever they get you pulsed, to get a very high damage output. So with this you can mitigate that. So I'm also using Glass Cannon Talent to get 25% amplified damage. However, I need to always position myself away from danger so that I do not get too much damage from my enemies, because Glass Cannon also amplifies the damage you take from any sources or from your enemies. Okay, so for this build I'm using the FAMAS 2010. So it has assault rifle damage, health damage, and for the attribute I go with damage to target out of cover. So the reason for that is it's a multiplicative bonus damage. Okay, it gives you damage boost, but the difference with crit chance and crit damage is that this one does not require any type of chance attribute. So it's actually already added up on your damage output whenever you fire your gun. Okay, so that's the difference. Critical hit chance and critical hit damage is also found in this build or in any damage dealing build. However, critical damage only boosts your damage output whenever you proc it, meaning it depends on your crit chance. Even at 60%, it's not always giving you a very high damage output, which is highlighted by an orange color in the damage value. But with this, even if it's around the white range of damage, you still get high damage output because of this multiplicative bonus damage. For the talent, I'm using Optimist, which allows me to get 3% extra damage for every 10% ammo missing. Okay, so when I fire this, I get 3% for every 10% of my ammo that's missing, and when I almost have my magazine depleted, it gets me up to 30% extra weapon damage. So as you can see, it's fitted with C79 scope for crit chance, laser pointer for crit chance, muzzle brake for another crit chance, and sturdy extended 5.56 mag for that plus 20 rounds. So you also need this to get a total of 50 in your magazine, so that you can ensure that you can continuously fire your gun, meaning you get continuous DPS. Also, it has plus 21% weapon damage since I max out the expertise with this. And also another reason is for using this gun is because of the high RPM, which is 900, meaning even if the total damage is not at 100k, it's around 97.7 only, I can still get millions of damage as long as I'm firing this gun, because it's so the RPM is so high, you can deal a lot of damage. So DPS is based on your fire rate also. As long as you keep firing, it adds up all those damage, and that's your DPS. So the more shot you can make, the more DPS you have. For the secondary, I'm using the Nemesis. The reason I'm using Nemesis exotic marksman rifle is because of the talent, which allows me to charge it to get 100% weapon damage if I fully charge my nemesis. Fully charge meaning when you use scope and then you hold the R2 or your trigger, it charges up your damage, and when you release it, anyone hit by this will get one-shotted. Okay, so for this it has 1.6 million damage, marksman rifle damage, headshot damage, and crit chance. For the pistol, I'm just using the first wave PF45 with pistol damage, damage to target out of cover, and strain talent, which allows me to get 10% critical damage for every 0.5 seconds I'm firing this gun. So it's a total of 50% extra crit damage if I stack up to 5 times of this trained talent. Okay, so it's fitted with extended pistol mag for plus 11 round and compact coupled small laser pointer for crit chance. Okay, so as you can see, my guns are more focused on the crit chance mod. The reason for that is attributes in all your gears are mostly crit chance and crit damage. Whenever you want to deal damage, there's no damage to target out of cover or damage to armor attributes that can be fitted. You can only find those in named gears. Okay, so as for this, critical damage is also important on dealing damage or making a damage build. The reason for that is it's also multiplicative bonus damage, meaning whenever you hit someone, it multiplies your damage. It gets it into a higher value compared to additive, which only gives you lower damage output. Okay, so for this build, as you can see, my mask is a Yell gear mask. It has weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and I fitted a crit chance mod. The reason is I have no Seska, so my total crit chance is around 49 only. I can go with that, however, I wanna hit or get all those crit damages from every shot I make. That's the reason I equip a crit chance to further boost it into the 50s, 50% crit chance. I'm using the Fenris backpack to get the bonus 10% assault rifle damage. Again, it's weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and another crit damage mod. So it has Vigilance as its talent, so that I get 25% extra weapon damage as long as I'm not taking any damage from any opponent. Getting damage disables this buff for 4 seconds. For the chest piece, I used the Yal gear chest piece, but this one has armor. I want to have armor so that I can add survivability to this build since it's quite squishy. Okay, and then it has crit chance, crit damage, and again the pulse resistance mod together with Glass Cannon to amplify my damage by 25%. For the gloves, I'm using the Contractor's gloves, so it has armor and crit damage attribute. The reason I'm using this is because of the special attribute, which is 8% damage to armor. I'm not equipping this because of that 10% LMG damage. I'm using this because of the damage to armor. It's another multiplicative bonus damage which is not chance reliant. As long as you're firing, you already get that damage to armor. For the holster, I'm using the Yell holster, and I used weapon damage on this core attribute together with crit chance and crit damage. So because I'm using 3 of this, I also get 10% hazard protection and plus 5% weapon damage. It's also good since I get 5% weapon damage and somehow a little hazard protection, which allows me to survive getting burnt, especially when someone's using a skill build. When I combine it with my armor kit, I usually get to survive any status effects because of the 200% armor regen. Okay, so for the last piece, I'm using the Fox's Sprayer not because of the 10% rifle damage, but because of the special attribute, which is 8% damage to target out of cover, another multiplicative bonus damage. Okay, so I just fitted it with armor for survivability and crit damage. So as you can see, I have 1.3 million armor. That is for survivability, but you can go with something lower to have more damage. So you can go with 1.1 or even 700k. It depends on your playstyle. For me, I just want to balance it out a little bit, since even if it's 1.3, I still feel that I can hit high damage with this, since it still hits around 5 million and sometimes even 6 million total DPS. Okay, so for the skills, I recommend using decoy for misdirection. So using decoy together with your pulse resistance, you are practically invisible. Okay, you can misdirect them, they cannot see where you're going, and it's easy for you to shoot them from behind, or even use your sniper or your marksman rifle, which is the nemesis, to quickly deplete the armor of your enemies or quickly take them down. Okay, so for the secondary skill, you can go with any skill. You can go with pulse, scanner pulse, so that you will know where your opponents are positioned or where they are hiding. You can plan your ambush. You can use defender drone to mitigate damage. So for me right now, I'm using the shield to mitigate damage also whenever I am firing. Okay, and as for the stats, so for my FAMAS, it has 97k weapon damage, 39k PvP weapon damage, 55% crit chance. It's important to get 50% and above crit chance, so that you have a higher chance to proc that crit damage. So the crit damage is around 129%, and I have 75% headshot damage, 8% armor damage or damage to armor, together with 18% damage to target out of cover, which is not listed in the weapon stats. Okay, so that comes from my weapon, the 10% from the FAMAS, and then 8% from the Fox's Sprayer. For my nemesis, I have 1.6 million weapon damage, 438k PvP weapon damage, 49.5% crit chance, 134% crit damage, 176% headshot damage. So it has high headshot damage, since this is a marksman rifle. It's part of the built-in attribute of any marksman rifle. Okay, combined with 8% armor damage or damage to armor, and 8% damage to target out of cover coming from the Fox's Sprayer knee pad, you get a very high damage output whenever you're sniping. So it allows you to easily take down any enemies with one shot. For the pistol, I have 144k weapon damage, 48k PvP weapon damage, 50% crit chance, 129% crit damage, 120% headshot damage. Pistol has a very high headshot damage, or it has an innate headshot damage. It's not shown in the attributes, but it's always at 100% or more headshot damage when you look at the weapon stats. It has 8% armor damage and 18% damage to target out of cover coming from the weapon itself, the 10%, and Fox's Sprayer, which is 8%. Okay. So for the defensive stats, I have 1.3 million armor together with 100% pulse resistance, meaning I cannot be seen whenever someone uses pulse or scanner pulse, any type of scanner pulse, and then they cannot use spotter and flatline on me. So that allows me to survive getting killed by DPS or the current meta DPS build right now. Okay. As for the specialization, you can also use technician together with an AR or assault rifle with flatline to deal more damage, or you can even go with demolition if you prefer using or spec using your armor spec with more crit damage, you can use demolitionist to get 20% burn resistance at least, and then the laser pointer, which gives 7% crit chance. So the special laser pointer of demolitionist has an extra 2 for crit chance. The usual is 5%, and then for the demolitionist it's around 7%. So your base crit chance of 49% can easily be around 51% when you're using the demolitionist laser pointer. So that is my current pulse resistance DPS build that I use or run in the Dark Zone. Hope this build helps you guys in playing the Division 2.